Hi, welcome to our channel. You're doing what? A channel dedicated to the nomad life for people who are in their later senior years and want to RV full-time. You don't even have to do it full-time to enjoy this, but especially if you're going to full-time and jump the shark and do that. Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about driving an RV, and this isn't going to be a super long video, but just a couple of things, because a lot of people are intimidated by the thought of driving an RV, and I will tell you that it takes about 20 minutes for me to kind of settle into the seat, even after all these years, and feel comfortable when I decide that I'm going to drive for a few hours. And relieve my husband. He actually does most of the driving, but I don't mind driving, and I learned, and it's fine. So a few things. When you're towing a vehicle and the longer you get, the more conscious you have to be about making turns, left turns and right turns. Now, a truck driver told us when we first learned how to drive these things, these big ones, that before you make a turn, you want to be sure that your hips are in the middle of the lane where you're going to turn into, or the middle of if it's a 2-lane street, that your hips are even with that middle line before you even start making the turn. And then you slowly turn and watch your mirrors to be sure that you're not going to go over any curves. We practiced in parking lots a lot to get a feel for how much room we had to make turns. When you're going to turn left, excuse me, you need to make the turn again. Don't start turning until your hips are in line with whatever the middle of the road is that you're turning into, or the lane. Wait till you start making that turn. When you're towing, you sometimes forget that tow vehicle might not make the turn without going over the curb, and I mean, usually no damage is done, but it's a little jarring when that happens. If you're towing a trailer, I don't know much about driving with a trailer, but I do know that you can take driving lessons, and I believe the same concepts probably apply, just in terms of being careful when you're turning, especially into more crowded areas. Now, speed. I talked to you last time. We tend to keep our speed at about 64, just because that's where we're comfortable to get better gas mileage, fuel mileage, and just towing everything and feeling a little more comfortable. The person who taught me to drive, I took a women's driving class, told me never to be intimidated by these great big Class A rigs. When you're in the driver's seat, the only really thing you need to pay attention to is that driver's side tire that you're sitting on top of. Is that in the middle? Is that on the lane marker, the left lane marker? So if you're on a single lane road, is it on the double line marker? If you're in the left lane of a 2 or 3 lane highway, is that left driver's side tire on the left line marker? And if you focus on that, you don't have to always be worried about looking to the right, because the tendency is to worry about that right side. And so when you worry about it, you tend to gradually go over to that right side, and you don't want to do that. Now, you do have to be aware of what's on your right, but I have never had a problem if I just focused on that left line and keeping my front left tire on that line. It kept me where I needed to be. So those are the 2 tips that I have to help you feel a little more comfortable about driving. If you're in a Class C, sometimes it can be deceptive, because if it's on a van chassis, then the van is a certain width, but the actual living space of the Class C motorhome is wider. And I've witnessed people I think kind of forgetting that they had that extra width on either side, maybe a foot of width either way, and forget about that and get a boo-boo on those either side. So just be aware of that you need to know where your farthest width is when you're driving. The fifth wheels and the RV and the Class A's also have a height requirement. So it's not just side to side, but it's height. And I would recommend that you get a GPS system that is specifically made for RVs, because those systems tell you if you're coming up to an underpass that you won't fit under. You set the parameters, and if you won't fit under it, your GPS will alarm and say stop, stop, stop. Well, not stop, it doesn't say stop, but it alarms and tells you, uh-oh, you've got a problem. If a trucker can go under an underpass, you'll be fine. Unless you have a double-decker bus, and I've lately seen a couple of those things that have been renovated and made into RVs. I don't know about those going under some of these underpasses, but we've always been fine on any roads. If we saw trucks, if we saw big 18-wheelers on 2-lane roads, we knew we could manage. And then just having the security of the GPS letting us know if we were in trouble. So those are the main issues about driving. You can see so much from the road. It's just such a pleasurable way to see this country. And it's a beautiful country, and don't let the fear of a great big vehicle stop you from having your friends ask, "You're doing what?" Have a great day.